and we can just go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, good spamming the start. And then did we go over Genji last time we were together too?
Yes, we did.
Did? Alright. Well then, just wondering for the sake of it. Very nice. Now, there's been a few times here where I've seen us right-clicking at too far of a distance, like right there. It was a little bit too far of a distance to be right-clicking from because even if we hit her, we're hitting one single shuriken, which that means that we just want to be left-clicking from this distance. And I've seen that 3 times so far. I'm keeping an eye out to see if it just keeps happening, but that will be something we'll discuss if that just continues to happen.
Okay.
All right. Make sure that you're not getting too aggressive with your abilities. Basically, when it comes to your abilities, you want to rotate their usage. So if you're using one aggressively, you want to use one defensively. So for example, if you're using your deflect to get aggressive and use it to try to get damage in, you want to be able to use your dash to get away. If you use your dash to get aggressive and damage, which is probably going to be the more common one, you want to be able to use your deflect to get away and use that defensively. Here we end up using our deflect, and then we also use our dash. We use both of them basically aggressively, right? One after the other. So we deflect, we cancel it, and then we go aggressive. So that's a big no-no from that part, just because we end up not being able to defend ourselves here.
Mhm.
And then besides that, we just need to address her health bar a little bit better here. She is being pocketed by 2 people, so we just need to pay attention to that. And then on the target priority as well, just make sure that if Ashe is getting pocketed by 2 supports, it might be a little bit better of an idea to go for like the supports instead, right? Maybe the Zinnia, probably the Mercy would be the best because she's able to pocket the other 2 the easiest. So killing her
Mhm.
first would be the best here. So a few different things to just add it up. Of course, when you get like a lot of what we're talking about, just to like be clear right off the bat, once you get up to masters level, and we're talking about the top, I'd probably say low masters, maybe like top 4% of players, right? When we're talking about that high of a skill level, it's nothing gonna be super major. It's gonna be a lot of small mistakes that really add up, because when you get to this level, it's all about consistency and efficiency, making sure that you're making less and less and less mistakes, and making sure that you're being more and more efficient with the amount of shots you're hitting, the amount of kills you're getting, the amount of things that we're doing all the time. Is just we want to make sure we're getting rid of those small inconsistencies, and that's really just where we're going to be mainly looking at, because there's in comparison to you when you were plat, you probably had a lot more mistakes that were just like you're going and feeding, you're out of position, you're not being aware of your surroundings, you're using these abilities wrong. At this level, it's going to be a lot less of that and a lot more of just you're making these tiny little mess ups. Right. So team's dead. We're just going to go back and poke for some ult charge maybe. Yep. Make sure you're looking behind you before you were just going for the touch, right? Why is this maybe not a good situation to try to go for the touch? I'll
Just
give
because
you a hint.
like, the whole team's not there.
Yeah. So in this situation,
Yeah.
when we're down 2 whole people who are nowhere near the fight, we're essentially engaging here in a fight that is a 6v4, right? Um,
Yeah.
or even like would be like our McCree and our Mercy are also outside of this fight for the first couple of seconds, so it could even be like a 2v6 for the first couple of seconds here. But we're
Mhm.
pretty much coming into this fight either at a very heavy disadvantage, or even coming in already losing the fight, right? So basically this just isn't a situation where we want to contest, and we just want to make sure we're like at this point where we're walking back from spawn right up here, we just want to like do a quick little turn around and go, okay, where's my team at before we're engaging. Be aware of your surroundings by making sure you're looking around, not just constantly staring straight forwards, because here we may end up making the mistake because we're not being aware of what our team's up to is the big thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, and then very obviously we lose because we basically lost the second we tried to touch. Alright, so we're coming up on Blade. We're actually going to get this before they have a Transcendence, so that would maybe be what I would be thinking about in this game, but Trance does charge a little bit slower than Blade usually, as long as you're not having to wait for the Ana, so especially if you're not having to wait for a Nano boost, using your Blade immediately here would be a really good idea, because you can most of the time charge it faster than a Zenyatta can charge it. So if we use it first here, this is going to be really, really good for us, because then that offsets us and Zenyatta for like the rest of the round. Because if we use Blade, then Zenyatta's either forced to do one of two things. In the next fight, he could use Trance without your Blade, or he could save it for your next Blade. And if he uses his Trance next fight, then that means that he's just going to be, you guys are going to be like, going alternating, and you're going to get a lot more value with your Blades. So this next Blade will be really important if we get this off right. Again, just want to make sure we're not getting too aggressive, because we still have a bunch of teammates walking back, though we're fine what we're doing right now. Okay, just because again it's continuing here. You can see this again in a moment, so we dash here, and then we right click at that distance. So we'll just go over this real quick, just because that's been something that I've seen 4-ish times, and I might have even missed a couple of them. Is just kind of the range at which you want to be using right click and left click. All right, not a very major thing, just again another one of the like kind of minor ones, but this will add up if you're using it consistently wrong. So right click, right? In general, you want to be using this at a range where you're hitting most of your shurikens. In general, your right click has like the difference between the right click and left click is your right click is a faster fire rate with more consistent damage output. So whenever you're close enough to hit multiple shurikens, you want to be right clicking. But whenever you're too far away to hit all of the shurikens, then you want to be left clicking, because it's going to be more accurate. So left click is accuracy, right click is more damage and faster pacing. Right, so when we're at this distance, right, we're hitting one single shot. You can actually do a little bit of a trick where you can aim to the side and hit 2 shots. So for example, here we can hit 2 shots, right? But if we aim straight at him, we only hit 1 shot, right? So we can actually do that tiny little trick. Honestly, that's not even something that I really do. It's just a really cool thing that you can maybe try to implement. But here is where we start, we're still only hitting 1 shot. Even if we hit his body, now it's a little bit more. But we want to be able to hit headshots a lot of the time. So when we're up against one solo target, you're not going to want to be right-clicking until you're within this 10-meter mark. Probably more towards like 7 meters, right? Which is now where we're getting kind of 2+ shurikens in, right? Even especially if we're hitting bodies, but if we're hitting headshots, we're hitting 2+, right? So somewhere around here is where you're starting to use your right clicks. Anything past this, we're wanting to left click so that we can hit multiple shurikens. Rather than just one single shuriken, and be more accurate with it, right? But this does depend on the situation. There are situations where we might want to right click. So specifically when we're going up against tanks, which have bigger hitboxes, right? When you're up against a tank, you can right click from a little bit further, because you're going to have a lot more to shoot at. And then also when you're right clicking into a crowd of people, so if you have like 2-3 people right next to each other, or they're all in a big clump, we can afford to right click from a further distance, because all of the shurikens are going to be hitting something, right? So basically, you just right-click whenever you can hit multiple shurikens. If you're right-clicking from like the distance that we're kind of right-clicking at is, I've seen us be right-clicking at this distance a lot, and it's just too far away, right? Unless you're going up against this multiple people or tanks, but most of them have been up against like one other DPS or the supports or something like that. So we just want to pay attention to that and use them at the right ranges. Right, so okay, Snap, I have a lot of imports. What were we on? We were on Route 66, and I think that's the only one here, so.
Yeah, it's Route 66.
Probably start doing these sessions on another account, so I don't have like 20 of the imports. Alright, so we were...
Yeah.
Get forward here, so we use our first ult. Alright, here's where we were. Again, we're kind of right-clicking. Now, this is a little bit more fine because it's a ball, but you can just kind of see the distance at which we're using it. It just seems like it's a habit. Very nice. All right, so we have the damage boost. Do you typically communicate with your team when you're looking for this?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So then we're coming in here. One other thing that I'm looking at. So other thing I'd maybe notice is just make sure that on top of saying like, "Hey, which is really really good that you're communicating that you're asking for the mercy damage boost. That's really good. Just make sure that you're also trying to get the Zarya to bubble you because that can very heavily help. You want to get as much support as you can get. Three main ones that are just going to be the ones that are going to be very frequent and you can get help from a lot of the time are just going to be Mercy Pocket, Nano, and Bubble. But just make sure here we're requesting the Bubble as well because, um, as from personal experience, because I'm a Genji player as well, is that
Mhm.
getting stunned can absolutely throw off the rhythm. It gives people time to run away from you. It gives them time to absolutely shred through your health, and you're gonna die. Right? Getting a bubble stops you from getting flashed, slept, stunned. Right? You can't get hooked. You can't get coach gunned away. You can't get they don't even have any other stuns, right? But it's going to stop you from getting stunned and give you a lot more survivability as well. So you just request for all these different abilities. So say, okay, I blade this fight. You say this like ahead of time. You say, I blade Zarya. Make sure you bubble me, and then Mercy look to damage boost me through the whole thing. Here, Mercy ends up leaving us like halfway through, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think I didn't get that kill on the Mercy because I lost like the damage boost,
Yeah.
or she was healing.
Okay. Now here. I got yeah. He was really close. That's unfortunate. Yeah. So he just got the trance off. Honestly, I think that we maybe shouldn't have been dueling the Genji to start off if we are trying to go for our blade. I think we just spent a little bit too much time here going for the Genji as like we had our blade already, right? We had it right about here.
Yeah,
Right, we got it right there, but we spend an extra like 5 seconds going on this Genji, and that means that that's just extra time for him to charge up time. So again, efficiency, time management. Just want to probably go in for ultimate faster here, which would mean that we end up going in before they get trance. But that was just unfortunate timing that he just got trance at the very last second there.
damn.
Okay, nice shots. So far, no problems with just general mechanics. Besides when we missed like 20 shots.
Yeah.
Alright, so far I've maybe seen us a little too focused on the DPS. No, don't get me wrong, DPS are really good. It's a lot better than being focused on the tanks for too long. So good,
Mhm.
like our target priority is pretty decent, but on top of that, Mercy and Zenyatta are pretty easy characters to kill, especially for Genji, and we probably want to just put a little bit more attention into them, as it hasn't seemed like so far that they're really our main focuses so far this game. Just want to put more attention in on them. Sorry, just gonna take a look at that one more time. Make sure that when we're aiming in there that we're aiming at head level. Right, so it looks like we adjust there a little bit. But just looking to keep our crosshair placement consistent and keep that at head level so we can hit head shots. Oh, no. All right.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, so in this situation, let's rewatch it. Yeah, so you see the mines, we're just trying to dodge them out. We just end up going a little bit too close to that last one. All right. Did we talk about watching kill feed at all last time that we did coaching? I know it's been a while, but are you familiar with like kind of what the numbers we said were?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very obviously a mistake, and this is the second major
Right.
time we've done this, right? We did this on first point as well. Just make sure that you're not panicking with the recontest, because this is a big waste of our ultimate, because we're going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2. All right. Very big problem here, and we just want to make sure that we're not paying attention to the kill feed and not going in when we're down a bunch of people and not using our ultimates when down a bunch of people. Just as a quick reminder, being up 1 to 2 people is an advantage, down 1 to 2 is a disadvantage, so we can be more aggressive or more passive accordingly. When we're up 2 to 3, that's a win, and when we've won, we don't want to use ults and we want to push for staggers. When we're down 2 to 3, that is a loss, right? That's this fight, and we don't want to use ults, and we want to look to group up. So either die or get out, or get out if you can, die if you can't. Right? We've made a couple mistakes with this, so that just comes down. Okay, for some reason they tranced it, but this comes down to awareness. And when it comes to focusing in on awareness, like let me know if I'm just going over stuff that we talked about last time, because I don't want to go to like if you already remember this, like me talking about this, then I don't want to
Um.
go too much into it.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
But
not
I mean, it's I don't know. Like I tunnel vision a lot, and I can I feel like my awareness is like probably one of my biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, sorry.
So I don't know.
I was saying that as a prep for what I'm about to say. I wasn't saying that for the whole watching kill feed thing.
Oh, okay.
But just let me interrupt me here if I'm talking about something you already get. But essentially, the awareness can be a pretty hard thing to try. Like you say, you tunnel vision. It's a hard thing to try to fix. But
Mhm.
you're gonna fix it the same way that you fix anything else, is by while we're playing, making sure that we're focusing, not autopiloting. If we are autopiloting and just playing for the sake of playing, or even something like focusing on winning while we're playing, will just mean that we're not ever improving. Really, when we're looking to focus on improving and really focusing on one particular area, you will actually start to win more often and you'll start to improve. So basically, how that works is, if we're looking to improve at awareness, right? Let's say just watching kill feed specifically for the moment, right?
Mhm.
That means that we really focus in on kill feed, and what our brain looks like while we're playing is kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed. I can't try saying that 5 times fast, right? Kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, kill feed, right? And we're constantly giving ourselves reminders, and we're really focusing on kill feed. And you'll notice that when you really put most of your brain attention into kill feed watching and awareness, that your awareness will be slightly better than usual, right? And if you do that for a long enough time, that will build it as a habit, to where now you don't need to put in as much focus and effort into it, right? When something's a habit, it just comes naturally. You no longer have to put in that attention and go for awareness, right? You just do it, right? Because it's a habit. So that's how we look to improve
Mhm.
on it, and then we can move on to a different topic after that. In general, you have a couple different like main parts of the game. You have, like, I probably usually summarize it down to 5 different parts of the game. You have ability usage, ultimate usage, positioning, awareness, and mechanics. And you can either focus on one category or like 1 to 3 subcategories. So anything that fits within those, right? So for example, awareness, you could either focus on awareness as a whole, or 1 to 3 parts of awareness. So, or even 1 to 3 parts of different things. Like we can focus on kill feed watching, we could focus on blade usage, and we could focus on I don't know, something else, right? Like positioning, right? So you just want to make sure we're focusing on it while we're playing, because this is very obviously a big mistake.
Yeah.
Don't want to be blading when the fight's lost. Now it's good thing they most definitely should not have tranced that. The Zenyatta should just let you kill him, but they ended up also making mistakes, they tranced and bladed as well, but so they kind of they actually probably did that worse than, or just as bad as you guys, because we used a nano and a blade there, and they used blade and trance. But it doesn't matter, right? Just because a mistake's not punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake. So even if it kind of evens out there, still don't want to do it. Right, we swapping. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure that we're not immediately burning all of our blinks before we're basically on Tracer. Before we engage, we want to make sure that we have blinks to work with, right? You can't take a duel when you have no blinks at all, but look, what we do is immediately we blink 3 times, right? So right now we're out of blinks. What we should be doing is kind of, that's fine, we came out of spawn with it. Right now what we should be doing is kind of poking from this doorway, poke, 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 and then we recharge our blinks during this time, and then we have 3 blinks and we can get a little bit more aggressive, right? But what we end up doing is we blink in immediately, right? And then we blink as soon as we get it again, right? And we blink again, and then we see these guys who are trying to go on the cart, but again, we blink again, right? Where maybe instead of blinking again, if we're trying to engage on these people on cart, right? Right back at this point, if we're trying to go to cart, we should just be recharging our abilities while we're just normal walking. Right? That means by the time we get to this spot, we have 2 or 3 blinks available, and we can go in and fight these guys. But we cannot fight these guys if we have 0 blinks. As you see, we peek the corner and die immediately. Right? Blinks is, that's unfortunate. Blinks is how you negate damage and how you basically out-mobilize people. Is how you say it, whatever, you get what I'm saying with that, right? It's how you
I get you.
get around people. When we don't have anything and we're trying to engage in a fight, we're screwed. It's like we were talking about with Genji, with you can't go into a fight when you don't have dash or deflect, right? You need 1 to get in, 1 to get out, or 1 aggressively, 1 defensively. On Tracer, you need to have your blinks to be able to do anything. Right, so it's fine to use them all to come out of spawn. We just want to be, before we're engaging, just recharge them up real quick. Like, just we want to be getting them back up right now. We're just using them all.
Yeah.
Alright, just want to give them time to get up. And then, right now, I don't know if I particularly... Alright, so we're going to get ball. Okay, that's good. Make sure when you're going on a flank that you're not jumping, that you're not meleeing. But instead, what we do is we kind of crouch spam. So we don't have to just hold down crouch unless you're trying to be extra quiet. But you can kind of, while you're walking, crouch, uncrouch, crouch, uncrouch, uncrouch. And then that's extra slow. You just want to crouch spam so you muffle your footsteps and make it quieter so they don't hear you coming in. Very nice kill, good tracking and mechanics. I like the crosshair placement as well. So that's looking good. Again, same thing, like she turns around and looks at us because she hears us coming. Just crouch a little bit. Nice blink melee. Good mechanics so far, looking like on Tracer, the big one we're looking at is just ability usage, and maybe I would say positioning, but we'll talk more about that if it comes up. Alright. So on Tracer, we're at 652. So we will go over this real quick. Actually, do you, just to ask, because you had 2 recording replays, are you wanting to go over Tracer, or are you more particularly interested in Genji?
Yeah, I'd like to go over Tracer a bit.
Tracer? Alright.
I don't play her too often, but I want to.
Alright. Basically, Tracer does not like the frontal angle, right? Basically, from here, we have a couple problems. First off, when we're shooting at people from the front, it's often going to just be the tanks, right? So if our team's standing here, enemy team's standing on point, we're just shooting at tanks, which tanks are what we want to be shooting at. Okay. Number 2 problem is when we're coming from a frontal angle, i.e. just coming straight at them, right? That means that they're already looking at us, right? They're already looking in this direction. Therefore, there's very little adjustment to shoot us, and they can stun us super easily, and they have an extra second or two to react to us coming in. So it becomes very predictable, very easy to kill us, very easy to stun us. So it's just all around, most of the time, Tracer does not want to come in from this angle. Right. Instead, what Tracer likes to do, and she can do this pretty easily because she has blinks, is she likes to come in on the side angles. So she comes in on the left side, on the right side here, right? Now this gets around the tanks, this gets around the shields, this means that we can get on the DPS and supports. And this also means that we are coming at them from, now we're not looking at them straight on, but we're coming at them from the side. When you're coming at someone from the side, they cannot see you, and therefore it takes them extra reaction time to look over at you, and it's harder for them to shoot you, and it's harder for them to stun you. Right? So when we're coming at them from the side, it means that you're just going to be all around better. We can also end up going behind them too. That's another option. Right? This is why when you're going into a duel with someone, you want to do your best to basically position yourself behind them. So when they look at us, we blink behind them. When they turn around, we blink around them again, right? Or we can blink to the right and get to the side of them. We just don't want to be in their frontal vision. So again, we can blink behind, they turn around, we blink this way, right? And then we're basically just putting ourselves outside of their camera angle, and it makes them very difficult. It makes it very difficult for them to shoot at us, right? Because they don't know where the heck we went, right? That whole time. So we just want to do basically blink circles around them, blink every time they're about to shoot you, or blink every time they're about to see you. And basically Tracer's just going to thrive when people aren't paying attention to you and aren't looking at you, which we're going to do a lot better off if we're on the side angle than if we're trying to approach from the frontal angle, right? We've gotten at like one tapped like twice so far, and guess what? Both of those happened because the first time we went like this, we had no blinks and we just kind of walked straight at them from the front, made it very easy for Ash to just go, oh, that's a Tracer. Like, very little adjustment. She just went boop, killed, right? Zenyatta, like we just decided to go like, Zenyatta sees us. We just decided to go like this on him. Means that it's very, very easy because he can just very easily charge up that right click, tap us in the face because we're coming at him from a frontal angle where it's very predictable and he has time to react to it. Right? Alright, so coming back to Route 66. Wait, is this us? No, we're off of, I'm dumb. Alright, so here, for example, I think this is where we get our pulse bomb, you can blink up to where that ball's at, and then this gives us like a better position to land a surprise pulse from, right? This is now above them, this is from an angle that they're not expecting, this is not coming directly from the front, and this is going to be a lot better to land the angle to land a pulse from, right? We can just basically drop on top of their heads with a pulse, right? But look at what we do is we just go out into the open, right? Or we get booped over here, right? And then Zenyatta sees us, right, from his perspective, and we basically just blink straight into his shots here. He charges the right click, and he just goes bam, right? So we just want to make sure that we're outmaneuvering him, that we're not just blinking straight at him. We also, this is probably a little bit of an inappropriate time to be engaging because we're going in way too early. We want to make sure that when we're going in, it's when the enemy team is properly distracted. So how Tracer's playstyle looks is Tracer's an opportunist, right? Kind of, I'd probably say Tracer and Ganji play very similarly. So you want to play them like this, is Tracer and Genji are opportunists. They don't, with Genji, you're not gonna just all of a sudden, you wouldn't do this on Genji where you just like just go in right off the bat here. Maybe this would be a little slightly better because it sends off in his own, right? But you wouldn't just go in straight on top of people right away. Instead, you poke for a bit. You wait until you see an opportunity. So someone who's low, someone who's out of position. We could make somebody low by shooting at them, right? We could create the opportunity for ourselves, right? Or on Tracer, we could also be looking for Pulse Bomb. But in this situation, we just don't want to engage immediately, probably, because it means that they have more people that can look at us, more people that can focus us. And it's also, like we talked about, this is kind of like one direction, which makes it super easy for him to shoot at us. So we might just want to let him come in a little bit further. Right. So we'll skip. It's unfortunate. We got 2 tapped. Okay. Make sure that the first thing we're focusing is gonna be like the supports, not the Genji, who's gonna be pretty difficult to kill. The other thing is, again, just recharge your ability. So here, probably be best if we just like sat on high ground, right? Because up here we could basically be doing max damage from this range while being in a super safe position. I don't know. We probably talked about high ground at some point. And you're a Masters player, you understand high ground's fantastic. Probably just stay up here. And then on top of that, we just use our blinks immediately when they're probably not necessary, and then that means that we're at 0 blinks again, right? And then that makes it means that we have to immediately back up, right? So we just end up burning our blinks very, very fast. We just want to make sure we're going in when we have them all. We're not using them all immediately. Kind of pace them a little bit. Nice health pack awareness. Right, like these 2 blinks, for example, probably not the bestest, right? So like here, for example, this one, we could just be walking and this would be fine because we want to be able to recharge them by the time we see something, right? Which means just walk instead of use it for mobility. This is no... When we're using blinks for mobility, we want it to be like kind of when it's urgent, right? You're trying to get back to a fight. You're trying to get somewhere fast, right? But here, this is not needed. This is not urgent, so therefore this blink's wasted. On top of that, we're coming in from the frontal angle, which again is not the angle we want to come from. We could probably come in from top left behind them. We could come in from this side if Hog wasn't here, but instead we're coming from... And then also if we're on right side, we can come from high ground. We can come from over here, right? Just to come at them from an angle that isn't this angle where every single member of their team is looking at, right? They have Ball looking there, they have these 2 looking there, they have Mercy looking there, right? And we come in from the frontal angle, and again, we're engaging when we have no blinks, and we just blink straight at their faces, right? So just a lot of blink management stuff. Don't walk straight into a Genji's face. He is a little bit better of a close range than you do. Tracer's a close to medium range character. There's a lot of characters in the game that benefit more from being right in on top of you than Tracer does, right? Reaper has, there's a ton of characters that have close range. Reaper has McCree has flash, Brig has stun. You have Reaper, Ryan, Zarya, right? A bunch of different characters that just benefit at close range. If you're at a close range on a Genji, it's a lot easier for him to hit a right click shuriken into your head. All right, same thing on Zenyatta, same thing on on Ana for her to hit sleep. So we just want to keep a little bit of a healthy distance between us two. We don't want to be in his face. Don't face tank stuff. You have 150 HP. All right. Okay, I like the angle that we're taking here. This is a little bit better than what we've been doing. This is good. Probably just don't want to engage right away here. If we engage right now, this would be bad because we're going in when our team's not, when they have not engaged, they have not started fighting, and therefore they can have 4 people, maybe 5 of the Hog comes over here, have 4 people just turn around and all focus us, which will mean that first off, we aren't able to kill anything, and it forces us to back out faster, and it means that we just don't get value, and it also potentially kills us really easily. If the enemy team and our team are fighting and our team is distracting them, then what this does is it creates a crossfire effect. That means that they have to choose, do we look at Tracer or do we look at the team? And if they choose to focus 6 people on you, the team runs them over. If they choose to focus 6 people on the team, you melt their backline, right? But even if they decide to split their attention, now they're giving less attention to each part, and it's safer for both of you, right? 2 people, 3 people looking at you is a lot better than 6 people looking at you. And on top of that, they're also not going to be communicating this, so it's just going to be very confusing and throw everyone off, right? So overall, crossfires are good. Just make sure we're not going in too early.
Yeah, I wish I do.
Right, so just pay attention to your team. Again, that's another awareness thing, is we're just not very aware of what, like, in-game. Like, when it comes to awareness, there's a bunch of different types of awareness, right? And we just do a quick... go through them real quick, right? We have HUD awareness. I don't think we have too much of a problem with that, besides just making sure we're watching our ability management. You have kill feed watching. That's a big one to pay attention to. You have health bar watching. That's not anything we need to worry about. You have audio awareness. Probably not anything to worry about for you. But then the other big one that we come into is in-game awareness of where characters are positioned, right? So where's the enemy team at? Where's our team at? That's a very major one, because we're very, especially our team, we seem to very often be unaware of what our team's up to, and that means that we're always out of sync with them, right? We're always doing the wrong thing at the right time, or the wrong time, right? Just because we're not paying attention to where they're at. Very nice blinks. But again, we're kind of coming in at an angle when the fight's not started, right? So it's just not getting any value, and it makes it super easy for a McCree who's getting pocketed by Mercy to come and hunt you down. Okay, I like they were coming on the off angle again. It's just this wants to be consistent, not just happening half the time. But okay, now we want to be recharging our blinks instead of just what I would imagine is going to happen is that we're going to walk in here and just instantly blink in, whereas what we should be doing is just walk in, and then now we have blinks to use as mobility and whatnot. So, blink in, right? Instead, just walk. Good melee though, right? Make no problem with mechanics or killing things. Right, so it's 1 second left. Okay, sometimes I forget to pay attention to the kill feed, or sorry, the time bank, right? And then I end up going, okay, was that I had to check it for a second. All right, so we're back on the Genji. Yeah, typically Genji's better offense character than defense, I find, anyways, because he's not all just blade, but a large portion of his power comes from his blade potential. And that's gonna be best found on an offensive situation, especially like if you think about like a 2CP map. When you're on defense, you want to consistently be able to win fights, whereas if you're on offense, you only need to win 2 fights, right? Defense, you need to win like 10. Offense, you need to win 2. So if we charge up a Nano Blade, that means that we're going to be able to win that fight pretty easily because a large portion of his attack power comes from that. So Genji, yes, is going to just be a better attacker than a defensor. Okay, kind of same thing with Genji. I would advise to try to look to get in on that side angle rather than just approaching from the frontal angle, because as Genji, we're not going to get as much value by sitting on this angle. One exception to this, I would probably say, would be like if the enemy team has like a Reinhardt and we're looking to sit with our main team so we can get like a deflect on a fire strike or something like that. Right, that's the situation where we can do it. But other than that, we probably want to be spreading out a little bit, create crossfire effects, look to get a lot closer to them so that we can be within dash range and whatnot. We don't play as a sniper, and that's a problem that some Genjis get into. Here, make sure crosshair set head level. Did we talk about crosshair placement last time?
Yeah, but I still need to work on it.
Exactly. It's not terrible. Like right here, we have it at head level. You just want to make sure it's consistent, because you can see on the McCree, we lower it. Right, so like on the McCree, we're aiming at his body now, and that just means that body shots, body shots, body shots, right? Body shots. Now that one was a little bit harder because we were... Ooh! That was really slick. All right. Do they have a res? No, they don't, because we just killed them. Make sure you request healing when you're low HP. That way your supports see and know where you're at, and you get healing faster. Just a good habit to get into. Okay. Here we delayed a little bit. Like again, just efficiency and making sure we're doing some stuff constantly, so actions per minute. Here we just kind of like a delay where we don't do anything. All right, we just want to make sure we're shooting during this time and getting ult charge. Oh, 1 second. I have a phone ringing in the background. I'm gonna go turn it off.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back.
No problem.
All right. Make sure that when you're dashing... Here, let's see. Watch this again. Nope, skip. Alright. I'm not... It might have been what you were trying to do, but just... I'm not going to go into the training range because it hasn't happened too much and it's just one time, but just when you're dashing at somebody, if you know that your dash is going to go past them, look to dash in at their feet. That way you don't, or like even like right behind them, so that you don't end up sailing past them and then being this far away from them like you are right here. Instead, you just end up hitting the ground right next to them, and then that cancels your dash, and you end up right next to them where you can follow up with a right click. Here we end up just dashing past them. So even if you're aware of the tech, just make sure you're looking to be consistent with it and hit the ground here rather than just dashing straight past them.
Okay. Yeah, it's something I forget to do a lot.
Yeah. Just again, consistency and efficiency. Most of your gameplay isn't bad. It's really good actually in comparison to 95% of the player population, right? But it still needs to get a little bit better in certain areas.
Mhm.
All right, very nice. Nice. Focus Baptiste. Yep. Good target change there. Just came like 1 second late. Now we're back to focusing Hog. Make sure that you're focusing the Baptiste, not the Hog in that situation, right? Bap pockets Hog. Hog has heals. Hog has 600 health. Baptiste has 200 health, and he can't heal himself nearly as well. Hog also has self heals. So all around, Bap is what we want to be focusing, not the Hog. Also, pay attention to the flow of the fight here. You know, never mind. I need to pay attention to the flow of the fight. It looks like they actually have more people there than they did, so we don't want to use Blade here. I misunderstood that. Alright, nice dash. Okay, when you're dashing at a McCree, I find it's usually a good idea to try to end up above him, because that makes it very difficult for him to end up following up. Even if he hits a flashbang, it's very difficult. Oh, sorry, I messed up there. Is even if he's able to land the flashbang, it makes it very difficult for him to um follow up on it. But it also makes it very difficult for him to hit a flashbang, right? Because McCree's flashbang has a little bit of a range on it, so 12-10. So we can just go over this real quick. So basically, his flashbang can end up going past people if he's not too careful. So when somebody's right on top of him, he wants to aim at the floor, right? Because otherwise it just sails past them and doesn't do anything. So we can, demonstrate that real quick, right? If you're too close, you can just send it past them and it doesn't do anything. So when someone's right on top of you, you want to look at the ground. If you look up, you get the exact same problem because it just goes past you. So if you dash in, right, and get above his head, so either by dashing up high on him, so that's the first thing, is you probably want to make sure that you dash kind of like, instead of like angling towards the floor, you might want to like angle upwards so you end up above him, or I guess like something better would be like this, and then also you want to be jumping immediately after you dash in so you end up being above his head, right? That again makes it very difficult for him to flash you, on top of it being very difficult for him to flash you and then follow up with a fan hammer, or follow up with just shooting at you, right? It just makes it very difficult. So look to just make sure you're getting above him when you're dashing at a McCree. Kind of, let's see, is it the same thing with a Brig? I'd probably say like similar thing to a Brig as well, because she can't bash you if you're above her head, at least most of the time. She can sometimes.
Yeah. I never thought of doing that for like a McCree, like the dashing like near the top of him.
All right. So we were ahead of this. We were like somewhere around here. So we just got the, yeah. All right. So aiming at legs again. Let's see. We have a blade. They have one single lamp, so we just want to make sure we're paying attention to lamp, and we're either doing one of two things: either we make sure we focus down lamp and we're ready for lamp to come, or we go for someone who's outside of lamp. And then number two, we have no follow up if we blade here. We don't have a nano, so we probably can just go for a blade dry, especially since they don't really have anything to stop us. Or we could hold on to it. It really probably depends on the situation. I think we might need Blade because they have 3 ults. We could hold on to it if we saw that our team had the ult advantage, and then that would mean that we wouldn't need to use it. But in this situation, I'd probably say using it probably be a good idea. Okay. Here we're just kind of chilling, and we didn't do much, and we're just kind of sitting on cart when we probably should be backing up, since this is a lost fight and we lost our tanks there. Instead of backing up, we're actually pushing forwards, which isn't what we want to be doing, and this is going to end up maybe staggering us. Okay, Baptiste is dumb, but then we end up dying just anyways. So we just stayed in way too long there. Again, watching kill feed, paying attention to it. That's probably the biggest thing when it comes to Okay, whatever. Those two are very similar when it comes to awareness of probably watching kill feed and also paying attention where your team is at and where the enemy team is at are like kind of tied-ish on when it comes to awareness. But just a big thing is, again, you see another mistake and we end up staggering and our entire team's ahead of us.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, um, before when you said I could blade, um,
Yep.
is it should I always be looking to do that? And like, just because like we have a long stretch to push the payload, like I
No,
usually wait to do it, but is it better just like win the fight there?
I wasn't saying necessarily blade at that moment that I said. I was more so talking about blading during that fight.
Oh, okay.
So no, I wasn't saying you should be blading at this moment. I was saying during this fight we should probably be looking to blade because of this and this. But then our tanks immediately died, which meant that now it wasn't a situation to use blade. So
Oh, okay.
no, you probably shouldn't have used it. On top of that, you guys probably shouldn't have even been up here because we had 3 people sitting on cart. So us being up there got our tanks killed. That's usually fine as long as we're being careful. But our team very obviously wasn't being careful there. Here we're 80 on our nano, so at this point we could probably just wait for it because that would also sync us up with our Ana.
Mhm.
I think I find that our deflects aren't often getting too much value. Like we end up canceling them quite a bit, and we also use them at times where it's not really necessary. Basically, keep in mind deflect has 2 main core things that you get out of it, right? 2 main reasons why you use deflect. First off, for defense, and that's going to be what you use it very often for, as like we were talking about. Dash is just a better offensive ability, so you can use your dash to go in and kill things pretty easily. So you use your deflect to get out defensively, the same way that like you'd use a Zarya bubble to defend yourself. And the second way is you can use it for offense, especially if you um, see that specifically somebody hit scan character is shooting at you and you can deflect it easily. Or the other major one is when you have a big clump of people shooting at you and you can deflect all that damage right into them. This works really well up against basically in 2 main comps. When they're on like a central spam comps like double shield, you can like walk ahead of your team and like stand straight in front of their entire team and just deflect all the damage back at them, and it does a ton. And you can also do that in Brawl pretty well too, especially if you're getting a fire strike sent back at them. So you can look to use it aggressively as well, but oftentimes it looks like we're not really using it in maybe the best of circumstances. Here, we deflect when nobody's looking at us. We just want to make sure people are looking at us. And we also cancel it like immediately, which maybe like if we're looking to be moving through the open, keep it up so we can just use it defensively to move towards cover. All right. Alright, so we're holding on the blade, we're using it next fight. We should probably have been pushed up there finishing off kills. Instead, we just kind of ran the cart. Keep in mind that you never really need more than 1% on cart unless you're trying to cap point before people get back, right? On a payload map, at any point, you have basically 2... On any single point, you have to win 2 fights on attack. One fight that happens around this stretch, right? And then the next fight that happens near the end, right? Here, one fight that happens around this corner, and then one fight that happens at the end, right? You have roughly 2 fights. It becomes 1 fight if you get staggers, or even if you get too many staggers, it could be 0, but that can be lowered if you get stagger kills, or it could be raised if they win fights, right? But that number does not change whether or not we have 1% on cart or 3 people on cart. The only time we should ever have 3 people on cart is if we're like right here, and we're trying to get it in before they can retouch, right? But we're right here, instead of being on cart, when we see Ashes on cart, we should probably be looking to dash up here and help them finish off those guys and stagger them, right? So again, when we're up kills, we go aggressive to get staggers, because here what ends up happening is we just don't go and help, and then both of our tanks die, right? Because they pocket McCree and McCree kills stuff. So here we just ended up making the mistake of playing way too passive when we should have been helping clean up the kills, and then that completely ruins our momentum. Okay, again, make sure we're paying attention to the kill feed, right? Because we're engaging here when it's a we just wait no we did we just get, wait who just died? Ash just died. So it's, right now it's a 1 2 3 4 5 versus a 1 2 3 4, and on top of that they are also going to be getting this guy back faster than we're going to be getting back our hog. So here we're just at a disadvantage, and we should probably just be waiting for our teams to regroup so that we can go in with our whole team instead of going in on our own. Okay, so here let's watch the mechanics here, because I don't think we've watched the mechanics at all. So we go for a blade. We're communicating. It looks like we dash up. Okay, we go with the McCree. Okay, we kind of run into the problem where we dash past them. Same thing is like, if you know that you're just gonna end up going past them, you might as well just like kind of take a second to run at her, right? So from our angle here, we probably could have, oh come on, this is way too far back. Come on. Basically, what we could have done here was, we're very close to her. We probably could have just run forward, slashed, and then dashed, right? Rather than dashing immediately, because that would mean that we just get the kill without going straight past her, right? Because again, we go past her, and then that just ruins the whole thing. So we just want to be careful with our mechanics there. We're not going to pass people. Right, all right, so now we are going to go to a wrap-up / just going over all the main points of the session for the last 7 minutes here. So we were on Genji and Tracer the whole time. So Genji, abilities to start off here, just going to go around the clock. Deflect, just make sure you're using it in two different situations. One, most of the time you're going to be using it defensively when you're taking damage and you need it to use it to keep yourself alive. And two, you can use it offensively when you see a high density of damage coming in right on top of you, or if you are specifically using it to win a duel, or specifically using it to deflect a skill shot like shot or something like that. All right. Now, besides that, ability usage I don't see too much of a problem with. It's just a little tiny bit of consistency that needs work. Now, dash. Make sure that you're dashing instead of sailing straight past the person, right? We want to dash at the floor so we end up right next to the person, right? Rather than going all the way past. Oh, we'll wait for him to come back, right? Instead of going like all the way past the person, right? And then, oh, come on, why'd you turn around? Instead of going all the way past the person, right, and then being nowhere near them for the follow-up, we want to end up right next to them. So when you're going past, make sure we're dashing at the floor. Same thing when we're blading, right? We blade, if we're gonna go too far, right, we want to dash at the floor so that we don't end up going too far. All right, besides that, not too much of an issue with our dash. So moving on, ultimate usage. Just make sure we're communicating and trying to get every possible benefit we can get with it. So just make sure you're asking for bubble, nano, mercy. I think bubble is the only one we didn't ask for, so that's really good. Just so that you're aware, just so that I know you are aware, what happens when you get a mercy pocket along with a nano?
It's just a slash kill, right?
Yep, exactly. Just making sure you were aware so you know to communicate for that and just ask for both of them, not just one of them. Right. Then, besides that, I think the biggest thing was that we just ended up ulting in fights that weren't good situations to use it in. So just make sure you're not ulting when you know that you've won or lost a fight, because that's just not a situation that you want to be ulting in. Right. Then moving on from ultimates, mechanics. Make sure we're consistently keeping crosshair placement up, right? So we're aiming head level. We're aiming where we know people are going to be at, right? We're pre-aiming there so that we can hit shots pretty easily. There's very little adjustment, right? Besides that, not too much of a problem with our mechanics. I don't really think that there's very much else besides that. So mechanics, not really any issue. Moving on to positioning. Make sure that we're on both characters, and we'll go over more on Tracer here, but just make sure we're getting on the side angles, not just sitting main with our team. And there's specific scenarios where that is okay, but most of the time that's not going to be where you want to prioritize. Instead, coming from the side angles, that gives them less time to react to you, and it means that you can jump in with some kills a lot easier. make sure you're playing as an opportunist. This isn't positioning, but make sure you're playing as an opportunist and you're looking for situations where people are low or out of position, right? Or you get somebody low, like we shoot them a couple times and we're like, oh yeah, snap, I can go in now, right? Besides that, I don't think positioning was too terrible. Yeah, I don't think positioning really was any problem on Genji at least. Sorry, to clarify there. Then
Yeah.
onto awareness. Awareness is probably one of the biggies here, probably the biggie that we want to work on, as we did have specifically problems with 2 different categories. We struggled with watching kill feed, and we struggled with paying attention to our team and a little bit of the enemy team as well. We just want to make sure that we're paying attention to our environments in those 2 areas so that we're not making mistakes. Make sure you're watching kill feed, and we're going, okay, when we're up 1 to 2, that's an advantage. 1 to 2 is also a disadvantage when we're down it, right? 2 to 3 is a win or a loss, right? Just pay attention, be aggressive and passive accordingly, and don't use your ultimates and whatnot, and don't go in when you know it's lost, as that will stop you from making some major stop you from making some major mistakes. On top of that, we want to make sure we're paying attention to where our team's at, because we went in a lot of times when our team wasn't there with us, and that resulted in some mistakes as well. So that was a big one. Other than that, I don't think there's any awareness things that need work on them. Right. Moving on to Tracer real quick. Tracer, we didn't go over as much, but on Tracer, big thing was our ability usage, as we ended up messing up a lot of it. Just big thing was our blinks. I don't think we had a problem with a recall, but we just ended up blinking quite a bit, and we never gave ourselves time to recharge him. So basically what your playstyle should look like with Tracer is we want to also just on the positioning end, right? We don't want to come in from the frontal angle. We want to come in from the side or behind. But basically what our playstyle looks like is we're on the side, we poke, we look for an opportunity, we're charging up our blinks, right? And then when we want to do something and we see an opportunity, we blink in and go for the opportunity, we can get aggressive. And then when we're out of blinks or we don't have the opportunity anymore, we get out, we poke, we get we get the blinks back, right? And then we go in aggressive when we have them, right? Make sure with your blinks that you're putting yourself outside of their line of sight, so go behind them. When they turn around to try to get you again, you can go behind them again, right? Just make it so that they're confused. You can also go like to their right or their left, right, to make it confusing as well. Just try not to stay in their line of sight for too long. On top of that, I didn't see any problems with pulse bomb usage. I didn't actually see us use too many of them, so I didn't see enough to talk about it. But I think that it was pretty much it. Positioning we talked about, just make sure you're not coming in from the front, but we're coming from the side and behind. And then awareness is exactly the same. Just pay attention to what your team's up to. All right, now in general, main points. They're going to separate slightly between Genji and Tracer, because ability usage was a lot more important on Tracer than it was on Genji. Same with positioning. Positioning was a lot more important on Tracer than it was with Genji. But in general, the #1 thing was awareness. In total, we made a lot of mistakes just because we weren't aware of our environment around us. Probably say the last thing is going to be mechanics. That was the one that needed the least amount of work on. So #1 is awareness. Let's see, what were we putting #2 at? #2 we will put at, okay, so we the other, I'm just trying to think about them. #2 we're going to put we'll split it up. So on #2 for Genji is going to be your actually, sorry, I'm confusing myself now. I'm trying to split it up between the two. This will work much better when I write it out on paper or something like that. But I'll just say it in total, so or say it like they're separately. In general, it's awareness is the big one. On Genji, you probably are going to be struggling more with a little bit of a mix between the last three. I probably would say that they're not really, nothing's higher than the other. Positioning, ability usage, and then ultimate usage all just needed to get consistent. There was nothing that was really worse out of those three, right? So it just goes awareness, then those three, and then the last one is mechanics that needs to be worked on. And then just make sure you're not focusing on all of them at once, even the category of 3. Then on Tracer, that's a little bit different. On Tracer, the order would be awareness is #1. Then you have probably ability usage as #2. And then at #3 would be positioning. And then #4 would be ultimate usage. And then #5... number 5 would be mechanics. Or actually, I'd probably tie those two because I didn't really see any ults at all. So number 4 and 5 would, or number 4 would be tied for ultimate usage and ability. I apologize, my words. Number 4
Oh,
would be
you're good.
tied for ultimate usage as well as mechanics. All right. Any questions on anything we've gone over?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, then I am going to end the